Hi, welcome to the YouTube channel of the Institute for Jewish Ideas and Ideals. Our website address is jewishideas.org. I'm Rabbi Mark Angel. The question that has come to us relates to the obligation of married women to cover their hair. This, of course, is an age-old Jewish tradition going back to Talmudic times, and it generally is based on the idea of modesty, that married women should dress modestly. Covering their hair was a sign of modesty. In fact, indeed, in the Talmud, it considers uncovered hair to be nakedness. The normative halachic position over all these generations has been for married women to cover their hair. That's granted, and that is what everyone knows. However, what people don't often think about is that the prohibition of women covering their hair had much to do with the sociological background in which the women lived. In ancient societies, all women, Jewish or non-Jewish, had their hair covered when they were married, certainly. And it was considered immoral or improper for a married woman to appear in public with her hair uncovered. In modern days, of course, this is no longer the case. Most women, in Western societies for sure, go in the street with their hair uncovered. The question has come up to various rabbis, and although most rabbis have taken a conservative with a small c position, with a small c, namely that women should continue to cover their hair, some rabbis have recognized that this is a sociological prohibition. So, for example, Rabbi Joseph Messas, who was a rabbi in Meknes in Morocco, later became the Sephardic chief rabbi in Haifa, in his book of responsa called Mayim Chayim, volume 2, number 110, dealt with a question in Morocco asking why is it that the wives of religious functionaries in Morocco, which is a very traditional society, an Arab country, why is it that these wives were appearing in public with their hair uncovered? And Rabbi Massas went through the literature and he concluded that in our time, the law really no longer applies. So let me quote him in my own English translation. He says, since in our time, all of the women of the world have voided the previous practice and have returned to the simple practice of uncovering their hair, and there is nothing in this which constitutes brazenness or lack of modesty. Therefore, the prohibitions of uncovering one's hair has been lifted. And Rabbi Massas ruled that married women, may certainly appear in public with their hair uncovered. This is not a sign of brazenness. This is not a sign of immodesty, and is rather a sociological condition. So if married women live in a society where it is normal for married women to cover their hair, then that's the appropriate thing to do. But if they're living in a society where women generally go with their hair uncovered, that's perfectly appropriate as well. One could add to Rabbi Massas's comment that some people believe that by wearing a sheitel or a wig instead of their own hair, that this fulfills the law. And this is an example of how people sometimes focus on being literally, technically within the law, but spiritually certainly very far out of the law. So women spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to buy wigs, which look more beautiful than their own hair. And they somehow consider that to be an act of modesty, whereas a woman who appears in public with her own hair, modestly in public, they consider that to be a violation of the Torah. So one needs to really get perspective on what is right and what is wrong, what is modest, what is not modest. And I think that's to a large extent determined by one's sociology, where one lives, the kind of environment one lives in. So I believe that women should certainly make a decision. They should take into consideration all of the halachic background, the history. They should take into consideration where they are living, and they should take into consideration their own feeling on the subject. Is it something of religious significance to them and a reflection of modesty and piety to have their hair covered? If so, then by all means they should cover their hair. And if on the other hand they feel it's not a reflection of any immodesty, and they feel quite comfortable appearing in public with their hair uncovered, then they have certainly some authority within Jewish tradition, such as Rabbi Massas, to follow that way of doing things. It's important for people to take personal responsibility, not just to follow things because it's supposedly acceptable and because it's supposedly from. Rather, people should look into the sources, think of what's right for themselves and with their families, and in this way live a life which is meaningful, which is spiritually fulfilling, and which is honest in the eyes of God and in the eyes of human beings. I hope you've enjoyed this program. We will be producing others in the future through the Institute for Jewish Ideas and Ideals. Please share your questions with us. We'll be very, very happy to address them. We wish you all the best. Chazak u'baruch. Be well, be happy, and happy Pesach to all of you.